Forgiveness is still always an option, not a mandate. My friend shared something with me that she heard from her pastor, and I thought it was dope. You have to feel safe in order to forgive. Now, I don't have all the context behind that quote, but I thought it was very powerful because it put its finger on something that I had trouble finding before. I couldn't understand why I would get so annoyed when people say you have to forgive, because it's usually very poor timing. It's usually when you're not ready or willing or able to forgive. And by saying that you have to feel safe, it kind of gave language to why I have been so resistant on certain instances of forgiving. I think the thing that makes forgiveness hard is when it's packaged as an ultimatum or an act of righteousness, because it kind of disregards where you are at that moment. The human in me wants to say, I don't have to do shit. But the yogi in me says, now let's look at some options of what I can do to get through this. The first thing that I do when I take my journey on forgiveness is first recognize that my feelings are very raw. And that's okay because they're there to teach me something. The other thing that I recognize is that my healing is ongoing. Feelings are bound to resurface depending on what the trigger is or where you are in life. And whenever you kind of slip back into that mode of being resentful, don't think of yourself as a failure or like, oh, darn, I really didn't forgive like I thought I did. It just means that you have a little bit more work to do. So there's no need to kind of start all the way over on forgiveness. Like, you are working through it now. It's just that from time to time, these feelings come back and they make you feel away. That's totally okay. The other thing I would address is, what is it that I'm trying to defend in being resentful? I tend to think that when we're resentful, it's usually because we're trying to protect something. And so I ask myself, what am I trying to protect? Is it my self-image? Is it my respect? Is it my heart? What are those things? And then I just take some time to explore that. Forgiveness is not an action or a one-time event in which you press the button, you say, yes, I have forgiven. It takes work, and it can wax and wane throughout your life depending on the severity of the situation that you're trying to forgive. But while it's true that forgiveness isn't necessarily about the other person, it's about you and your freedom and so on and so forth, part of that agency is knowing that you can set the tone for how fast it takes you to forgive something and just be gentle with yourself. That's just as good as the gift of forgiveness itself.